Good morning, my friends. That's what I'm talking about. Garnet Silk to kick us off this morning.
Hello, Mama Africa. How are you? I'm feeling
Proper dubwise flavours on this one. Out to the locked-in crew from early.
hello.
It's Cubcam TV. It's Brekky In The Cave. We're going to have a fantastic time this morning. Two great guests on the way. I'm going to leave you with this one for the time being, though. Don't go anywhere. Click that subscribe. Click that subscribe button. Get too excited. And throw a like on the video as well. If I can teach myself to talk properly, that would be a bonus as well. Each like makes that more easy. Yeah, don't go anywhere. It's Cubcam TV.
I care and I won't let go. Even though we're oceans away, you're with me day by day. Memories of you keep flashing through my mind. The very thought of you make my time. Hello, Mama Africa, how are you? I'm feeling fine, and I hope you're fine too. Hello, Mama Africa, how are you? I hope when you hear these words, your grace turn blue, grace turn blue. Don't you worry now, I won't be long. Sweet paradise, I'm coming soon. When I'm with you, I can't be wrong. If not in May, then you'll see me.
I'm absolutely loving this one at the moment. Garnet Silk with Hello Africa. Top-notch rhythm. Out now via Jetstar Recordings, I believe.
And I hope you're fine too. Hello, Mama Africa, how are you?
Locked in crew, head over to my Twitter, by the way, at KXVU.
Word, your grace turn
Throw a like on my one extra tweet. Go on. Get him interested.
the sweet
That's what I'm interested in.
things are there to be found. The golden sunshine, the wind that blows around. The fresh vegetation which comes from the earth. Oh, Mama Africa, you make me know what life is worth. Hey, hello, Mama Africa.
Brekky In The Cave, baby. Day 100 of lockdown officially. How mad is that, you know? We're on day 100 of lockdown. The big hundo. The big one hizzy. That's what I'm talking about. We've been in this position now for over 100 days. I've been buried underground. No, I'm not buried underground. I'm joking. But yeah, we've been running this show now for 100 days. How fun is that, you know? Like, we've been bringing people on for interviews. We've had so many people on the show. We've had some amazing guests over that period of time. We've had some great interviews. We've had some fun times as well. We've had some amazing music on the way, and yeah, it's been great. So thank you to everyone who is supporting the channel. Of course, we are now over that 500 sub limit, but what we are aiming for next, we are aiming for 1,000 in the same time frame. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to go up to the big 1,000 within the same time frame. So in the next 100 days, I want this channel to hit 1,000 subscribers. As soon as we hit 1,000 subscribers, it's going to be a completely different story. We can put in sort of like sponsorship. We can put in all these things that will actually help grow the channel even further and actually allow us to get even stronger guests on and grow it into something even more special. So that's the kind of plan now. We're pushing for 1,000 subscribers rather than the 500 we're currently on. Although I am super, super grateful for every single one of those subscribers that we have now hit. So thank you. There we go. Enough of that very cheesy sound effect. So, moving on to today, what have we got on the way for today's show? We're going to be talking to two very special guests. We've got Echo Night on the phone at 10:30. Really looking forward to getting into that conversation. It should be a really good one. I do have to warn you, it is a pre-recorded interview because the only reason I'm telling you it's a pre-recorded interview is because I don't have another clean white t-shirt, which is what I did the interview in yesterday. Otherwise, I'd have tried to make you get away with it. But I'm not going to fool you. There we go. We've got a pre-recorded interview of Echo Night, which should be really good to get into. We did it yesterday. He's going to be live from 10:30 till 11. Following that, we're jumping onto the phone with Eddy 7, a wicked quite legendary dubstep producer, one of my favourites currently, who has a new project out, a new LP in fact, out on Hatched, which is of course Hatch's record label. So we're going to be diving into working with pretty much dubstep royalty. We're going to be talking about the transition of sound. We're going to be talking to Echo Knight about his influence as well, and how D&B has kind of been the thing to spark all these things in the UK, which is quite an interesting conversation we're going to dive into. So there we go, loads of good stuff on the way, and as well as that, we've got loads of bangers to play. We're going to be looking at a few news bits as well. We are of course going to be looking at the Rated Award nominations. How couldn't we? I'm a big fan of GRM Daily and the news section on there. So once I saw that pop up this morning, there was no way I was going to let it fly. Need to make sure we are checking out these award ceremonies, especially things like the Rated Awards, because what we want to make sure we're spreading and supporting these to make sure they are become the legitimate award ceremonies. You know, I'd rather have independent awards be the legitimate ones rather than big, more sort of corporate events being the award ceremonies that don't really have any bearing on anyone. You know, it doesn't really make sense that they are the things we base our more than anything else, they're the things that we end up basing what we do and what we see as award worthy off, you know, because I think there's very different agendas when it comes to a lot of these bigger award ceremonies. They're all very corporate, obviously. We know they're all very corporate, but we're going to be looking at that. We're also going to be looking at the Apple Design Awards for 2020 and a couple of other bits as well. So let's crack on then with some new music as we move forward. Very excited to get into this one. Brand new exclusive business. This one coming to us from Mayday, DUBSCO and Manga, going by the name of NWBI. I literally got this on an email thread yesterday, so massive shouts out for Mayday for sending this through. Definitely going to be getting him on the show in August. So there we go. Don't go anywhere. It's Brekky in the Cave. Out to my locked in crew. If you are locked in, throw a like on the video, hit subscribe. We're trying to grow the channel, so do me a favor. If you're enjoying the show, please do get involved, and we'll see you in a second.
Spawned into darkness, I survived and now I'm clean-hearted. Knew me, reputation can't tarnish. Pure blessings, I just want to harvest. Never been one to care about garment and black tracksuit and sizes the largest. New blueprint, I'm working on carving. Sowing seeds, take a walk in my garden. My energy is sacred since ages. A watcher I stay with. When bro wins see me, I'm elated. Could never be hating or be jaded. Always first with hands out to help, but I don't help those who don't help themselves. So if you get down and you stand back up, you dust yourself off and wish yourself well. Life cycle of an outlier, have a small circle tight like wire. Can't ask or call for ceasefire, you should have thought of that prior. Being an outlier means that you hold your integrity highly. Don't concede it and don't deplete it, it's a part of your psyche. Never been welcomed in, always on the outside. Never been welcomed in, seen it with my own eyes. Never been welcomed in, I'm not really surprised. Never been welcomed in, that's where integrity lies. Never been welcomed in, always on the outside. Never been welcomed in, seen it with my own eyes. Never been welcomed in, I'm not really surprised. Never been welcomed in, that's where integrity lies.
Yeah, you know me, man, I'm doing my own thing. Certain man opened doors, but when I got there, they closed it. I put my faith in the works, I ain't sitting around hoping. There's always bumps in the road, but there's ways that you could approach it. Treat it differently, man. Yeah, I ain't sitting around moaning. It's a waste of time. Things are gonna happen, but your reactions, how you control it. Take your time. Yeah, as long as there's actions in the word you've spoken. Do your work. Even when they don't choose you, the truth is that you are chosen.
Never been welcomed in, always on the outside. Never been welcomed in, seen it with my own eyes. Never been welcomed in, I'm not really surprised. Never been welcomed in, that's where integrity lies. Never been welcomed in, always on the outside. Never been welcomed in, seen it with my own eyes. Never been welcomed in, I'm not really surprised. Never been welcomed in, that's where integrity lies.
Sounds of Mayday and DUBSCO on this one, featuring Manga. Wicked tune, I've got to say. Out to my locked-in crew, out to everyone joining us this morning. We're about to jump into our first nugget of news, and we're going to be looking at the Apple Awards for 2020. It should be an interesting look. The Apple basically are, by the looks of things, changing the way they make their computers, and here's why DJs and producers should care. Oh, this is a very different article to what I thought it was. Anyway, the computer giant announced this week that it's developing its own chip for all its hardware hardware. Apple announced this week that they're developing their own chips for all hardware ranges, along with a new Mac OS version called the Big Sur. Interesting. SUR. Interesting name. That means for the first time, all of Apple's hardware will use the same ARM-based chips made in-house by Apple themselves. It also means that developers can make apps work across both iOS and Mac OS simultaneously. This is good. I like this. Apple also announced that they are opening up their Find My system to third parties, finding USB stick to add it to for DJ wins. There we go. So it basically means you can add a Find My USB stick. That's really cool, especially for DJs. I understand why this is said this is good news for DJs, because have you ever lost a memory stick? It's possibly the most frustrating thing on the planet. If you lose it in a club, if you lose it in a radio station and then it gets mangled in with all like the lost ones, you have no idea. It's honestly one of the most frustrating things. Losing a memory stick with music on if you don't have a suitable backup ready, so you've just done it quickly. Especially if it's in a city if you're in a city that isn't yours. That is one of the most frustrating things in the world you can do as a DJ. So opening up Find My the Find My system to memory sticks is a stroke of genius. Well done. The transition away from Intel comes 15 years after Apple's previous transition away from PowerPC, which heavily impacted music makers for years as developers remade their software to be compatible with the new environment. This time, though, Apple has already said the transition will be smoother, although the Rosetta platform that oversaw the transition back in 2005 is returning as Rosetta 2. So what does this mean for music makers and DJs? Let's dive into some of these. Intel-based computers will still work. There's no need to panic. Apparently, your Mac computer with an Intel chip will work with any new OS update for the foreseeable future. Apple's new Mac OS update, Big Sur, will be available to include tools to facilitate the transition for developers. So there we go. No need to panic, my friends. No need to panic if the head of Apple or any software developers are out there watching this show. Don't worry, you're fine. Although you probably already know this, so I don't know why I'm telling you. The tech giant said Apple will continue to support and release new versions of Mac OS for Intel-based Macs for years to come, and has exciting new Intel Mac-based ideas in development. There we go. Your plugins are safe for now. Ooh. Both the transition from PowerPC to Intel and the transition from 32 to 64-bit will be painful memories for music makers worldwide, with some developers taking longer than others to update their apps, some changing their update for and not updating some at all. Apple has already addressed the issue, saying with the translation technology of Rosetta 2, users will be able to run existing Mac apps that have not yet been updated, including those with plugins. Of course, the theory is often simpler than in practice, so we'll have to wait to see how smooth the transition is actually able to play out. As usual with plugins and OS updates, nothing ever runs smoothly. If you've ever tried to transfer plugins from one piece of one sort of hardware system to another, you'll know full well that the actual transition process of moving from a 32-bit to a 64-bit, or moving from even Mac to PC, that transition process is absolutely horrible. So yeah, there we go. There's a couple of updates from Apple for you. There we go. iOS and Mac OS are closer than ever. There we go. People, it's looking like basically you can make apps that literally work on phones and on computers in exactly the same way, which is that's kind of what we want, isn't it? We want all of our systems to be completely succinct, ideally. So like, I would love to be able to access my computer in its entirety without going through about 6 or 7 different TeamViewer apps on my phone, and it'd be fine. And I've got a PC and an iPhone. If you can make that possible, that'd be amazing. But yeah, there we go. Some interesting updates on Apple there. If you are locked in this morning, please do make sure you're letting us know where you're locked in from. Send us a quick message in the chat on the right hand side, and if you are locked in as well, I ask one favour of you, my friends. Click that like button, because I can see how many of you are locked in. I can also see how many likes there are. So I would like to see those two numbers be the same. It takes less than a second to do. All you need to do is just scroll and go whoop whoop, and you're there. Come on, you can do it, guys. You know you can. As well as that, make sure you're hitting that subscribe button as well. As I said before, the aim of this channel is now to hit that big 1,000 subscriber mark by the end of in the next 100 days. We did 500 in less than 100 days. I want to do another 500 in another 100 days. That's what we could do. If we could get to 1,000 before the end of the year, do you know how fantastic that would be? And considering the lineup we announced for the show for the next month yesterday, on Sunday, sorry, I think that's more than doable. So that's what I'd like to see. If all of you could subscribe to the channel and all of you click like on the video as well, we can grow and continue to grow as we move forward. As I said before, hit that subscribe button. It's there. It's right there. See it there? Somewhere around there? There it is. And as well as that, you can catch me on social media platforms. That is at KXVU on Instagram as well as Facebook. Also, I'm on Twitter and of course on SoundCloud SoundCloud as well. And you can find me at KXVU, as you can see there. And also, if you're locked in for the first time, you can check out the Breakfast with KXVU podcast. We've been running this podcast show for nearly 2 years now. You can listen on Spotify, Apple Music, and SoundCloud as well. All of the shows go up there as soon as the show finishes on here. And of course, quick word from our sponsors, Sharpen Digital. They play a big part in helping this show grow and adding sort of additional features with SEO and making sure we are able to be found. They're part of the reason we've grown so quickly. As you can see, the alternative to hiring social media managers. They are the official sponsor of Brekky In The Cave. One more time, hit that subscribe button. Go on. So we're going to jump into this one next. A absolute favourite of mine right about now, coming from none other than the living legend, the mastermind, the king himself, Burna Boy. This one, his brand new single, Wonderful. If you haven't already, after this show, go and check out my reaction video to this one. I'll explain in a lot more detail why I love this tune so much. But this one's brand new from him. Don't go anywhere. We're live on Cubcam TV. It's Brekky In The Cave.
Anywhere I go, mo láti padà sílé mi. 'Cause my mommy won't want to leave me. I know one me person tell me say.
Out to that first liker. I see you. Big up you. Now the rest of you follow suit.
As I dey hustle, like I dey buy your okun lazy. No go talk, say me I too lazy. Anywhere I go, mo láti padà sílé mi. 'Cause my mommy won't want to leave me. Funkilla, 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 funkilla. I go show you wonder what it wonderful. You no go believe wetin won't happen. No disturb us when the bed do won't catch you. It's like you dey sleep, but this one pass you. Banga. I think bed do just start bonjo. From your feet all over bonjo. With somebody that bonjo. 'Cause I'm feeling it in my soul. Something is changing, right in your face, change. Something they scratch me, don't be like that. Bye, bye, bye.
That's a man like Callum joining us this morning. How are you doing, my friend? Man like Callum is in the chat. Good to hear from you, sir. Hope everything's well your end.
'Cause my mommy won't want to leave.
How can you not like Burna Boy?
One me person tell me say too lazy. Oluwa bona of leleni. As I dey hustle, like I dey buy your okun lazy. No go talk, say me I too lazy. Anywhere I go, mo láti padà sílé mi. 'Cause my mommy won't want to leave me. I go show you wonder what it wonderful. You no go believe wetin won't happen. No disturb us when the bed do won't catch you. It's like you dey sleep, but this one pass you. Banga. I think bed do just start bonjo. From your feet all over bonjo. With somebody that bonjo. 'Cause I'm feeling it in my soul. Something is changing.
Sounds of Burna Boy on this one. Wonderful. What a fantastic way to start off the day. Out to my locked-in crew this morning. It's going to be a fantastic show, so do stick around. We've got Echo Night and Eddy 7 on the way. If you are locked in, as I said before, it makes a massive difference if you throw a like on the video. The more likes we get, the more applicable we become to the YouTube algorithms, and more people can join in and watch with you guys. You know, we can make a bit of a community thing of this. Let us know how you're feeling this morning. Let us know where you're locked in from. If you are a silent listener, fair enough. But let us know anyway. You know, let's have some fun with this. If you are locked in from the UK, let me know. If you're locked in from around the world, let me know. I know we do have a couple of international listeners who join us every now and then if it fits in with them, which is cool to see. And, you know, that's what we're trying to do with this channel. More than anything else, we're trying to build it into an internationally recognised interview platform. So we play some music to begin with, and then we jump into interviews from around 10:30. And we've got a fantastic week on the way, my friends. Today, we've got Echo Night and Eddy 7. Following that, tomorrow, we're going to be joined by Soul Jitsu and Seventh. Now, Seventh is a huge musician. There's no two ways about it. This is a guy who I think at one point he was hitting a million plays on a tune. That's an absolute madness. So we're going to be talking to him. I've known him for a fair few years. Also talking to Soul Jitsu, of course, tomorrow. One of my best friends, shall we say, from battle rap circles. We're going to be talking about the title match that just dropped the other day, and talking, of course, about the state of battle rap in the UK right about now. On Thursday, we have got Jaffro in the building. We've got Brekky in the building, and we've got Rants in the building as well from Grimy Mondays. Really looking forward to those. And then on the Friday, of course, we're going to be joined by Dakota 6. So it's going to be a fantastic few days, I've got to say. Out to the locked in crew this morning. Let's jump into another bit of news, shall we? I think that would be a good idea. I think what we try to do as much as anything is stay on top of things with things that are going on. So let's have a little look-see through. I mean, I've just seen this. I mean, the article I've just tried to load didn't load, and it loaded me a different Apple article. But here we go. Apple reveals its favorite apps and games of 2020. Apple has announced its favorite apps and games of 2020 as part of its annual Design Awards. The yearly Design Awards is usually part of the Worldwide Developers Conference, which happened virtually this time around due to the coronavirus pandemic, of course. 8 winners were picked and recognized for outstanding app design, innovation, ingenuity. Jesus, why can't I read today? That's really bad. My brain just, you probably saw it on camera, my brain just went Windows error. Technical achievements as well. This year was more of a focus on smaller developers, and the awards saw winners amongst animation, music, photo, and video editing, alongside architectural and technical drawing. Interesting. The games also included 2 apps that were released as part of the Apple Arcade. They're giving awards to themselves. What? Apple, come on, man. Apple's Vice President of Worldwide Relations, Ron Okamoto, said in a statement, every year app and game development demonstrate exceptional craftsmanship, and we're honouring the best of the best. So here's a list of the winners. The photo and video editing app went to Darkroom. The animation playground Loom by Iorama Studio. CAD app went to Sharp 3D. Digital Sheet music app went to StaffPad. Sayonara Wild Hearts from, I don't know, this is a really difficult list to read. Sky, Children of Light won an award. Song of Bloom won an award. And Where Cards Fall won an award. I don't know what half of the awards were for, but there we go. I don't know what half the awards were for. It doesn't say what half of the awards were for, but they won awards, so fair play to them. There we go. Let's jump into this then. A absolute banger from an artist I am feeling so heavily at the moment. Massive fan of this one, Jules. Now, with this tune by Clips originally, there's been some pretty top-notch remixes floating around of this one. We did hear the remix of this one. We heard the Red Light remix. Of course, Clips is Red Light, so that made sense to do. We've now got the Jules remix, and I'm very excited to get into this one. This one goes by the name of, again, obviously featuring Miss Dynamite. JK's on there as well, and there's a few other features. It's a banging release, so we're going to get into this one now. Out to my locked-in crew, keep it locked. It's Brekky in the Cave. Oh, yes.
Jules, baby.
How me say again. Long time me not come again. Every time me touch on money reading problem. Gonna tell your bedroom, me say gonna tell your friend we are the remedy, we are the thing. Me say again. Long time me not come again. Every time me touch on money reading problem. Understand, I know you like it. Hear them ball out, pull it up and rewind it.
Hey yo, they ain't never better than me. You ain't never met a real killer MC. Name hold weight, that's 100 empty. Lick off a shot and leave the clip empty. I am mean, you ain't messing with the team. Brothers rubbing off my thing, they see me in their dream. Busting out the jeans, get it popping like the steam. Laser beam, you ain't messing with the team.
How me say again. Long time me not come again. Every time me touch on money reading problem. Gonna tell your bedroom, me say gonna tell your friend we are the remedy, we are the thing. Me say again. Long time me not come again. Every time me touch on money reading problem. Understand, I know you like it.
Hear them ball out, pull it up and rewind it.
Let it go.
Every time they see me when I step into the room, pulling out the camera, see the flash and do the zoom. You know it's a madness when I'm mashing up the tune.
Let's not play around here. Let's not play around. This is an absolute heater.
Jules, baby.
How me say again, long time me no come again.
Breakfast with
Every time me
KXVU.
touch on money reading problem. Wanga tell your Reggie, me say wanga tell your friend we
If I heard this in the dance, I'd lose myself, man.
long time me no come again. Every time me touch on money reading problem. Understand I know you like it. Hear them ball out, pull it up and rewind it.
Hey yo, they ain't never better than me. You ain't never met a real killer MC. Name hold weight, that's 100 empty. Lick half a shot and leave the clip empty. I am mean, you ain't messing with the team. Brothers loving off my thing, they see me in their dream. Busting out the jeans, get it popping like the steam. Laser beam, you ain't messing with the team.
How me say again, long time me no come again. Every time me touch on money reading problem. Wanga tell your Reggie, me say wanga tell your friend we are the remedy, we have the thing. Me say again, long time me no come again. Every time me touch on money reading problem. Understand I know you like it. Hear them ball out, pull it up and rewind it.
Let it go, let it go.
Let it go. Every time they see me when I step into the room, pulling out the camera, see the flash and do the zoom. You know it's a madness when I'm mashing up the tune. Gotta spin your favourite rapper and I'm sending to the moon. Long time, good to see you soon. Still a rapper, still a actor, been a trapper, been a goon. Kiss me by the morning, they won't live to see the noon. Baba boom, baba boom.
How me say again, long time me no come again. Every time me touch on money reading problem. Wanga tell your Reggie, me say wanga tell your friend we are the remedy, we have the thing. Me say again, long time me no come again. Every time me touch on money reading problem. Understand I know you like it. Hear them ball out, pull it up and rewind it. See me, see the hit, girl I come. See me, say me just calm down. So calm down, you don't really want no one, no. And you don't wanna take this thing. How me say again, long time me no come again. Every time me touch on money reading problem. Wanga tell your Reggie, me say wanga tell your friend we are the remedy, we have the thing.
Jules, baby.
What an absolute banger of a tune this one is. Out to my locked in crew this morning, let us know where you're locked in from. Throw a like on the video as well. Come on, let's have a good time.
How me say again, long time me no come again. Every time me touch on money reading problem. Wanga tell your Reggie, me say wanga tell your friend we are the remedy, we have the thing. Me say again, long time me no come again. Every time me touch on money reading problem. Understand I know you like it. Hear them ball out, pull it up and rewind it.
That's what I'm talking about, my friends. Jules on that one. The remix of Clips, again, obviously featuring Miss Dynamite, Miss Banks, and JK. Wicked collaboration. The original one's an absolute banger, followed by the other versions as well. There's a Red Light remix. There's this remix. I love the fact they're releasing the remixes like a little bit later on each time as well. They're not doing them all as one big package. They're getting some real longevity out of these vocals, and the vocal kind of pattern and the vocal layout of this one works really, really well. So I'm a massive fan of this tune. There we go. You're going to get a glass match. You're going to get a bar. You're going to get a few seconds of this siren, which decides to never shut up. So I'm going to have to turn it off manually. There you go. But if it's a good tune, you know. I get excited over big tunes. I very rarely wheel up tunes on this show, but that's the sort of treatment we're getting this morning. As I said before, throw a like on the video, my friends. Come on, let's have a good time. Sort me out here. Come on. I'm here talking away for hours and hours and hours. Do me a favour. But yeah, I really like what Jules is doing, putting out some amazing music right now, some amazing remix projects as well. And just in general, I think that's a good... I think this is a really good way of describing what's happening in the UK at the moment, music-wise. There's so many different elements to this. You've got Clips, an old-school D&B jungle producer, who's now making music under Red Light, who's making kind of techie, bassy sort of stuff. You've got Miss Dynamite, a UK music legend. There's no two ways about it. With Miss Dynamite being a UK legend, you've then got Miss Banks and JK, two of the most popular artists right now. In different fields, JK for grime, Miss Banks more for kind of more for sort of dancehall and sort of Afrobeat sort of flavors, and more, I'd say a bit more poppy as well. But those two combining with then Jules coming in with this super and more just unexpected remix. I think this is a really good combination of different styles that represents the UK really, really well. This is definitely a tune that's going to go on Fresh Fridays if this one does drop this week, because I love the tune. I can't get away from it. This is one of my favourite bits in a while. So there we go. Right about now, though, we're about to jump onto the phone with a man like Echo Knight. Now, I've been looking forward to doing this interview for a while. His brand new EP has just dropped on South Point Music, which you can check out over on, all platforms. It's available on Spotify, Apple Music, all of that good stuff. So make sure you do go and check it out. But we're going to jump into this interview right now. So stay locked, and we shall see you all in just a second. Peace. All right then, my friends, we are back here once again for this. This is Cubcam TV. This is Brekky in the Cave, and we are moving into our first interview of the day. I'm very, very excited to be getting into this one. It's one I feel that we've had kind of coming for a while, and obviously with the release of his most recent EP on Southpoint Music, it would have been rude for me not to invite him on the show. Man like Echo Knight is on the phone. How are you doing this morning, my friend?
Easy, man. How's it going? Thank you for having me on.
No worries at all, man. It's an absolute pleasure to have you on here. More than anything else, to kind of talk through the process of this EP, because obviously when you're in the process of putting together a release, it's primarily the sort of conversations you're having about what's happening where and who's doing what and la-da-da-da-da. It's going to be quite cool to kind of break down your kind of feelings towards the tunes and obviously all the other things you're involved in as well. So yeah, it should be a good one.
Absolutely, man. Let's get cracking.
Let's go. So, obviously, with yourself, you've been in and around music for a fair amount of time, and you've worked directly within the music industry as well. So, I want to kind of what I always do with these interviews is go right back to the beginning and ask, like, what was the first thing that really caught you and made you want to be involved in this industry?
I mean, wow, a long time ago. I mean, I was a drummer from very, very young. So I started playing the drums from about 4 years old, and then learned properly how to play the drums when I was about 7 or 8. Was in a band at the age of 12.
Wow, so early. We're talking early here.
Yeah, very early, very, very early. And I really enjoyed doing that stuff, but I got to about 16. I'd been in a band for about 2 years, and we all kind of went off and did our own thing, and then we everyone went to kind of sixth form college and everything else. And I just, I kind of not necessarily fell out of love with drumming, but I just, I wanted to do other things. I was looking for the future and all that stuff, and I thought the best thing for me to do is I really enjoyed listening to drum and bass, so I was like, I really would love to be a DJ. So that's how I got into kind of DJing, and that was my first real insight into electronic dance music, really. I was a drum and bass DJ from 16 all the way up until I was about 25, 26, something like that. Probably showing my age. So
I mean, so D&B was the first sort of genre then that caught you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when I was listening to it back then, and this really is going to show my age, there wasn't a lot of other stuff like we've got today, like the kind of bass house stuff and the bassline stuff that's out today. And, drum and bass was really the only kind of real underground thing that really sparked me and got me interested. And there was this radio show on Radio 1 called One in the Jungle. I don't know if you remember, that was a long time ago. But it was... I just loved it. It used to be on from 10 o'clock in the evening until midnight. They had different DJs every week. It was very kind of pirate radio, like, focused. So they had lots of shouts and it's how long ago it was. You could get in touch with them by fax.
Wow. I mean, even for that sort of time, I mean, fax is an amazing thing. But kind of even for that time, for them to be kind of embracing pirate radio culture, it seems like that would be quite like an early sort of thing for them.
Yeah, definitely. I think they were trialing it. I think I've watched interviews since of the people behind that, and they were really trialing this new sound that hadn't really been. Jungle was around, and it was just kind of forming into drum and bass, and and people were. I think Radio 1 was like, well, what is this music? And they really started to get on board with it. And as I say, One in the Jungle was their kind of foot in the door of the scene, I think. Really.
Okay. I mean, that's quite an interesting thing to look at if we kind of break it down, because I mean, obviously, One Extra now is the platform on BBC for underground music across the board. It's for essentially underground dance music and music of black origin. Realistically, that's the platform that is the leading place for that within the BBC. So to kind of see how it started quite early on. Almost diving into underground culture from D&B and Jungle being that first sort of influx. You see, I know there's going to be a lot of listeners to this show who aren't even aware that happened.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, like, for me, that was really where it all began in many aspects in the UK, certainly for drum and bass, and as it turns out, more so as things have gone on since, with the breakbeat and certainly bass house boom that we've seen recently. That's all come from drum and bass and breakbeat. So yeah, I think that, for me anyway, that's where the journey really started, and I think that was the first real platform where Radio 1 being what it is, gave these guys, these underground guys, this platform for a bigger audience. And I was one of those people in that audience, and I just hooked onto it, and I used to listen to every show every week, and from there, I was like, I want to go and start DJing and learn how to DJ.
And it comes straight out of that. I mean, this is why I love radio more than anything else, because even you kind of look now, radio's different to what it was 10 years ago. It's different to what it was 20 years ago. We're all aware of that. But even when you look back at this idea of how many people were inspired to start doing their own thing purely through listening to one show on one station.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it just goes to show how important it is and how important it gave. I think it's still important today to do radio shows, and I'm sure we'll talk about my shows and stuff later on. But I think radio is a really important medium for people to discover and people to find new music and find what they like, especially if you're a young person. I was 16, 17, 18, that kind of age, and I was out just like everybody else is, trying to find their way, trying to find what they liked and trying to find their identity. And having a radio show like that just really made me find who I was, I guess, a little bit. And, it really, I put it down to that show, really, that made me do what I do today.
Amazing.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's just an amazing kind of story to look through, for one thing. But yeah, kind of moving forward a little bit then. So obviously we're discussing kind of D&B and that being the genre that pulls you in. How do you go from that D&B influence being the main thing to where you are now, obviously with this most recent EP being a lot more bass-centric, shall we say?
Yeah, so I mean, I did drum and bass for a long time, and I went to university and did music technology at university, and got myself a degree there. And then I went off, and still very much in love with drum and bass, I got offered a position to work for Drum and Bass Arena as an intern.
Okay.
And obviously I jumped at the chance.
I was going to say, going through the roof for that at the time.
Absolutely. I was over the moon. I mean, I got that about 8 months after I finished university, and I loved it. And I worked for Drum and Bass Arena for nearly 10 years, and I absolutely love drum and bass. Now, the reason I kind of moved away from drum and bass is primarily because I worked for a company like Drum and Bass Arena. Now, that's not to say anything against Drum and Bass Arena in any way, shape, or form. It's just the fact that I was surrounded by drum and bass music for 10 years.
Yeah, like for the best part of your working life,
Absolutely, and that's fantastic. I'm not trying to put anything down against that. It was brilliant, but there does come a time when you're like, well, I've kind of seen the cycle, the loop of drum and bass that kind of happens in any scene, but does, I feel, happen in drum and bass. Now, I don't know, if I say bored, it's going to sound really like I'm really being...
No, I wouldn't say... I know what you mean, though. I think it's more along the lines of you need a change, I think, more than anything else.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think that's any indictment on the genre or anything along those lines. I
still absolutely love drum and bass, and I hope you can hear from my influences in my music.
Yeah, of course.
I absolutely love drum and bass.
I think the thing with it more than anything else is I couldn't have my life entirely taken up by one genre of music for 10 plus. Yeah. I'd struggle to do a year with it being exactly on one thing, and that's almost musicians being intuitive. You want to explore, you want to expand the kind of capacity of sound that's going into your kind of influence palette and take as much in as possible. I think it's completely fair.
Absolutely, and I think that was it. And I think it just run its course. I think that's the best way to put it. It run its course, and I was looking for something new and exciting to listen to. And then I discovered Jack in House, and I was really into kind of like there was like a channel called Jack in House, I think it was.
Yeah, it was. Was that the one that had the little Jack Daniels logo?
Yeah, that's
with
the one.
Images,
that's the one. Yes. So I discovered this new sound that I hadn't really heard before, and what they were doing is they were basically ripping old 90s samples, all these classic house samples, and then just putting like a completely different drop on them. And I thought it was brilliant. I love the rawness of it. I love the not caring about like taking other people's stuff and just going for it and just making sounds that they wanted to listen to. And it just, for whatever reason, it just struck a nerve. It reminded me of the early days of drum and bass. It reminded me of those days when, nothing was done to a really precise nature, which I feel drum and bass kind of is today.
Yeah.
It didn't take itself too seriously. It was just like, hey, there's all these bunch of kids that are just like, I love this. I just love mashing what I love from the 90s or whatever and putting it with my own kind of drop. and that just sparked my interest. And once that happened, you know, I kind of was making drum and bass, and I was doing a lot of drum and bass under my alias as BMK. And then I just was like, you know, because that had run its course, I was like, what's next? And yeah, having listened to the Jack and House stuff and listening to other, and then kind of growing into that scene, much like I did with the drum and bass, with listening to One in the Jungle and learning about the scene that way, you know, it blossomed. And I was like, you know, I'd love to make more of, you know, I'd love to get involved more and try and, you know, make the sound and see what happens. You know?
There we go. I mean, and we're gonna jump into the first tune on today's listing, which is the title track off the Out Now EP with South Point. I should know that. I've got to say, I should probably be a better on that. But yeah, we're gonna jump into this one. This is obviously the title track, Lost. We're gonna talk about it a bit more in detail after we've run it. But give me one word to describe this tune.
Bassy.
Bassy. Okay, cool. There we go. Right then, don't go anywhere, guys. We're live on Cubcam TV, Trickstar Radio. It is Brekky in the Cave, and we're live on the line with Echo Night. Sounds of Lost featuring Low. Now, this one is obviously the title track of the brand new EP on South Point. Now, this is actually the first time, I've got to say, we've done an interview with someone on this show within a week of their South Point EP coming out. It's the first time we've ever done it on this show, so it's definitely something I should have been doing a bit more early on. But I'm glad we're able to do it this time around. So the EP, obviously, there's a lot to discuss with it. I mean, firstly, this title track, influence-wise, you can hear, as you were saying earlier, those sort of D&B type influences, and those different sort of sounds that you were discussing earlier. You can hear those sort of breaksy drums rolling through. And I think the interesting thing with this one is obviously the addition of Low. Like, how was it working with her?
Oh, great. Lauren is fantastic. She came in, she's so professional. I mean, I actually had never met her before we started writing this track. I'd written the very backbone of the track, and I was looking for a vocalist, and I sent it around a few people. And I'd actually heard her on one of her tracks by Barely Royal.
Yeah.
And I just thought she would be a perfect fit for the track. So I got in touch with her, and there was a bit of back and forth, but on the whole, she was really excited to be part of the project. And she came down to my studio, and we recorded. I kind of just left the tune with her, really. I just kind of said to her, the only kind of thing that I would say was I didn't want it to be about love. Yeah. And I didn't want it to be about partying, because I felt that partying and love had been overdone in music and certainly in kind of narrative vocal songs. So I was like, what let's try and think of something else. And she came in with the idea of doing something about mental health, and I thought that was fantastic. I thought it was just a really innovative take on doing a vocal.
Definitely.
And yeah, absolutely. And she just came and she just smashed it. I mean, like we'd recorded most of what you heard there was recorded on the first take. I mean, we did do a few takes throughout that day, but I should probably say for that first session we got most of it down. And then the chorus we'd written a completely different chorus, and we went away and we kind of just felt that it wasn't as strong as it could be, so she came back and we redid the chorus. But on the whole, we did it all in that first session, and yeah, she's just fantastic. She's a great singer.
Amazing, man. I mean, it just kind of listening through it. It was a tune that when it landed, it's almost like a dream A&R tune. It's one that when it lands in inbox, you go, it's there. It's one of the few tunes that I haven't ever had. It's one of the few tunes in regards to South Point, especially in the last few years, where I haven't gone, you need to change this bit, you need to change that bit. That bit's not quite where we want it. This is one of those ones that landed and just went bang, I'm here, and this is how it's being put together. And I think as well that consistency runs very true throughout the rest of the EP as well. Like in regards to the obviously in regards to Strangers, which is the other solo track on the
flip side
on the project, like how would you say you kind of built the track listing for this? Like, did you build it to sort of complement each other, or did you build it to kind of showcase different styles? Like, what was the mindset behind the actual programming?
You hit the nail on the head with the different styles thing. I think because I've come from such a diverse background, I know we've just talked about drum and bass, but obviously like in my house music and working with Drum and Bass Arena's a company called AEI, and we looked after loads of other brands like UKF, Subsoul, all these guys that are huge brands. So I've got a very diverse musical background, and I just felt that I wanted to do I wanted to showcase that I can do different things. I think that's really important for me as an artist, not to be a one-trick pony. I'm really determined to show people that I can do some drum and bass, and I can do house, and I can do this, but I can hopefully bring it all together kind of under one umbrella. So it kind of has that kind of sound of me, I hope, that kind of bassy sound of kind of sound, but it takes elements of other aspects of genres that I really, really like and admire. Yeah. And Strangers is one of those tracks where I just love that. I love all the old 80s synths and love all the old 80s sounds, as a producer, who doesn't? Who doesn't love synthesizers? I love synthesizers, and getting really, really in depth with those. So Strangers was just a really good excuse just to kind of get really geeky and nerdy with my synth creations, and just kind of build, an 80s bass house thing. I'd actually watched Stranger Things, funnily enough, and I was like,
I was going to say, is there any influence there?
Absolutely. So I'd watched this first season. I was like, it'd be really good to do kind of a bass house take on an 80s genre, because I didn't really feel I could be wrong, because there's so much music out there these days, but I hadn't felt that really had that kind of amalgamation hadn't really been done before. So, that's what I always strive to do whenever I make anything. I'm like, I want to be unique. I want to be a bit different from everybody else. And sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. I've had more successes with some than others, but yeah, I try and keep every tune its own entity and its own thing, but at the same time, keeping it under my umbrella of kind of Echo Night, bass house, breakbeat kind of sounds.
I think the interesting thing with that is obviously you get to experience the full sort of pool of influences, which is what makes it such an interesting EP to listen to. We're going to get into Strangers next, and then we're going to move on to talk about obviously the podcast, obviously your work in radio, which has come to the surface recently. So don't go anywhere, guys. We are live on Cubcam TV and Trickstar Radio. Make sure you are hitting that subscribe button. You can see by pressing that little button down there. You can see it. Press subscribe, hit like on the video, and let us know how you are feeling in the comment section as well. Keep it locked. Brekky in the Cave. That's all you are getting of that one. Strangers, Echo Night, it's out now. You can go and stream it. You can go and grab it via multiple platforms. Please do go and grab it. It's out now, so do go and check it out. So what I want to do is we're gonna return to the EP at the end of the show as we jump into the Negative remix. That's how we're going to finish up today's show. Because I love the Negative guys. I love the music they're making. I love their approach. But I want to kind of talk about yourself a bit more with this. Now, obviously, the fun thing about this is, and one of the things I really like doing with this show is talking to other radio people. You know, and obviously earlier we were discussing the fact that a lot of your sort of career influence is based on that one original radio show. And I think what I wanted to ask more than anything else is, do you think that's what's inspired you to have such a strong, almost radio long form content style presence?
Yeah, absolutely. I think definitely. I love making my podcasts. I think they're great fun, and it gives me a chance to really have an hour of somebody's time and just show them what I'm about and what my sound's about. And I think you can't really do that as well with short form stuff, 2-3 minute things here and there. I think they're both important in different medium in different ways, but I definitely prefer the long form radio show. I think it gives somebody time to really understand what somebody's about. And I often listen to loads of radio shows these days, lots of podcasts. I think it's really, really important to listen to long form stuff. Definitely, man. The thing I find quite interesting with long form is it's a longer experience. It's not like a one drop. It's not like a thing of this has happened and now we move on to the next thing. No, you're there for a while. You're there to take information in. You're there to kind of have a longer experience than just the one tune. Absolutely. I think that's very important. I think, especially the DJ, your whole point of a DJ is to take somebody on a journey and take them from point A to point B, and you've got that certain amount of time. And I love that. Whenever I think about putting together a podcast, I think very carefully about how I want the podcast to flow. I don't just chuck in a tune next because I'm running out of time, or to have it in the mix or whatever. I really do think about how the mix flows as a whole, takes you on a journey, and that's just, I know it's a bit cliche saying that, but
yeah, of course, but that's what it is, That's what it is.
That's what it is, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's, at the end of the day, it's calling a spade a spade. Let's be kind of real here.
Absolutely.
What the other thing I wanted to touch on, obviously, it was a big announcement we saw on your social media feeds about a month ago, a few weeks longer. That you are now working with BBC? So, I mean, talk to me about it, man. How's that feeling?
Oh, it's just amazing. I mean, it's just fantastic. It's just kind of gone from strength to strength, and it started off end of last year. I sent my music to BBC Introducing, and they really liked it. I mean, my local BBC is BBC Norfolk, so they played my music, and then they asked me to come in and come in for an interview. So I went and did that. I can't remember whether it was just before lockdown, so kind of January, February time of this year. And when I came there, they were like, we've got to get you in. We'd love you to come and do an hour's a DJ show kind of thing or whatever. We need to talk about what you do on the station, but we'd be really interested in taking you on. So that's what happened really. And then the emails went back and forth, and I sent them. They said, "Oh, can you send us something? We just want a really short kind of 10-minute show just to kind of get an idea of what you're about, effectively."
Yeah, of course.
And I sent them this 10-minute thing, and they loved it, and they aired it. And funnily enough, they aired it on Friday, just gone. So,
oh wow!
So that happened Friday night, and it was just a short 10-minute show. But I did a 10-minute show on the BBC, which I'm over the moon about.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's no small achievement either. I think it's a position a lot of people are very keen to kind of to get into. It's a position that a lot of people would really, really love the opportunity to do. So I've got to say, hats off, sir. Well done.
Oh, thanks, man. And I think that's the other thing with doing the podcast. It's like, as much as I love doing the podcast, I want to continue doing the podcast. And I think if I can get someone like the BBC interested in what I'm doing, I'd love to be the one that showcases this music around the world, and the BBC platform would be a fantastic opportunity to do that. So, I'm absolutely stoked. It's early days. I don't want to. I'm kind of bigging up, but at the same time, I don't want to be like, I don't think you'll see me on Radio 1 next week, for example, but. It's just a great opportunity at this stage just to get my foot in the door and just keep giving them content, and they seem really keen to keep asking me for more content. So,
there we go, fantastic stuff. Right, we've nearly run out of time, so I mean this one's absolutely flown by. It's been great fun this morning. So what we're going to do is we're going to jump into this tune next. This one is the Negative remix of Lost, which is the other main feature on the EP. So I mean, obviously Negative, we're both big fans. Like, how did you find when you open the email up with their remix in? How did you react?
Oh, there's always a winner, isn't it, with those guys? You just know immediately that they are brilliant. They're brilliant producers, and I have a huge amount of respect for the guys. They seem to make their music over the internet, because one of them's in Poland and one of them lives in London. So even more of a massive feat for them to do what they do. They're fantastic, and I'm so over the moon for them to be on my EP.
Amazing, man. I mean, I'm in complete agreement. I love what they do. I love their approach. Again, in a similar vein to yourself, I feel, in that sort of breaksy, sort of hybrid kind of sound. I think it was a remix that made total sense for the EP, and it was one that I was just job done. No, don't need to worry about this one. Straight in, bang, sorted. Made my life very, very easy, I've got to say. So we're going to finish up with this one time. What is the best social media tag for people to get hold of you on?
So everything was the /that Echo Night, whether that's Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, SoundCloud, Mixcloud. Everything is with a /that Echo Night. So make sure you come and check me out.
Good stuff, man. Right then, we're going to finish up there. Again, massive shouts out to yourself, obviously, for jumping on the show this morning. The Lost EP is out now via Southpoint. You can grab it via all stores, all platforms, all of that good. The video is available to stream via Facebook as well, so do go and check it out. Echo Night, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for having me on, mate. It's been brilliant.
No worries at all. We're going to finish up with this one, the Negative remix of Lost, and I'll be back same time tomorrow morning. It's going to be a fantastic show. We're going to be joined by Soul Jitsu, obviously of Don't Flop Battle Rap fame, and of course we're going to be joined by Seventh as well. So it's going to be a wicked show. Make sure you keep it locked. We'll be back same time tomorrow morning. Don't go anywhere, and we'll see you in there. Well, we're going to finish with this one, then we'll see you afterwards. Peace. Right then, my friends, we're back inside the building. Mysteriously enough, the headband has gone. I don't know how it's happened, but there we go. I wanted to send a massive shout out to Echo Knight for jumping on the phone, of course. Really cool interview. Out to everyone who's locked in right about now. Out to WT4Y. Out to Callum. Out to Max, of course. Out to the 3000 Bass Gang. Out to the Grey Rock Music guys. Out to Marco as well. As everyone sending in your messages, as I said before, please do make sure you are hitting like on the video. We want to make sure we're getting as much traction as possible and growing the channel as much as possible. Hit that subscribe button, of course. We're going to move into our second interview of the day. It's going to be a very exciting one indeed. We're going to be talking to a man like Eddy 7, who is on the phone right about now. How are you doing, my friends?
I'm really well, thank you.
Good to hear, good to hear. So, this is going to be a very exciting one, obviously, because the new LP is out there, which is obviously a big one. It's a big project for yourself. So we're going to be getting into a real bit of conversation about that in a few minutes or so. But I want to kind of go back to the start with yourself, obviously. In regards to music, who is Eddy 7?
Eddy 7 is part of... I don't know, I've had a few different aliases over my music career. I started off in drum and bass, and I think Eddy 7 was like an accumulation of all of those styles that have just kind of like melted into this one kind of project that I've been doing for all these years now. Okay, cool. So when you say all these other styles, like what would those other styles include? Well, I mean, I started off making drum and bass. I was making like quite soulful, liquidy stuff. I started making stuff with Moses from Need for Mirrors under the alias Baby Origami, and that stuff was a little bit more kind of like out there, avant-garde, more trendy and current. But then I met Youngster, and he just started me playing me dubstep. Like, this is when Scream Midnight Request Line was on dubplate and stuff like that. Yeah, of course. And it kind of caught my attention in a way that music hadn't caught my attention, apart from drum and bass, of course. I just seemed to always be like one track minded, but then when I heard dubstep, I was just like, oh, this is something new and different. Definitely, man. I mean, I think that thing with dubstep as well, that was something that happened to a lot of people, almost like that happened to people almost UK wide. There was this. It took a little while for it to catch on, but I felt there was this period of about 3 to 4 months where everyone kind of put their heads up like meerkats and turned around and heard this sort of new sound. Like, do you remember any specific tracks from that time, apart from Midnight Request Line, of course, being like ones that caught you? For me, it's actually funny you should say this, because it was actually a turning point for me. Up until that point, even here in Midnight Request Line and, you know, Bengals Crunked Up and stuff like that, still never kind of had the urge to make it. I was so kind of like set in my ways with what I was doing with drum and bass, but I still appreciated it for what it was, you know? Yeah, of course. And then me and Dan, Youngster, we went to California, and he was going to play a couple of gigs out there, and I just went along, you know, just for the ride. And I met up with Shy FX. He was doing a pool party in LA, and I hadn't seen him for a while. Just as you do, you know, just as you do. Oh no, you know, coming from drum and bass background and that, I was quite good friends with Shy. I used to talk to him quite often. So to see him in LA, it was like, oh wow, man, what are you doing here? You know, he's like, what are you doing here? And I was like, I'm out with Dan doing the dubstep thing and that. And he started talking about these tracks that Benny Page and Brekky had made, dubstep tunes. And I was like, I've got to hear this. He was like, when I got home, I remember he called my phone. He was like, is it all right to send these tunes over? And I was like, yeah, of course. And I kid you not, I listened to these tunes, and that was it. That's when the penny dropped for me. And it was just... I heard it was just the way they did it was different, you know? Because they kind of come from a drum and bass background. They kind of like put something else into it, what I've never heard before. It was like... it was a turning point for me, and literally that week I made Sirens, Dark Passenger, The Darkness. It just went click, and for me that is when I wanted to be a dubstep producer as well. There we go. I mean, it's just like, wow, blown away. It's quite a madness as well, because I think the interesting thing with this one, like diving into your sort of scenario specifically, is that you kind of went straight in amongst the sort of big names of that were going to be big names in dubstep. Well, you know what? I was very fortunate. Like I said, you know, it was Youngster that kind of introduced it to me, and I become really good friends at M-Type as well. And between those two guys, they looked after me, man. They really brought me in. You know, next thing I know, I'm playing shows on Rinse. I've got everyone hitting me up for my tunes and wanting to play them. it was almost like a big springboard into everything, and I was just really fortunate enough to have the people around me that kind of believed in me and wanted to do that for me, you know?
Definitely, man. I mean, if we're talking like sort of legend, especially in radio here, if we're talking sort of legendary people in dubstep radio, you can't really get bigger than N-Type and Youngster. You know, they're like the two.
I know. I was really lucky, and I went and played. I've done loads of shows with Dan. I've done a few really key shows of N-Type as well. I remember there was a guy that had uploaded that because for some reason Rinse never uploaded it, and I was watching the download count on it, and it was like over 100,000 downloads for that show. I was absolutely flabbergasted, man.
Mad.
And that is when things was like, you know, when, like you said, the meerkats' heads popped up. That was during that period. It was amazing to see the whole world turn around on the internet and be like, oh, what's dubstep? It's like, yeah, this is great.
Do you ever kind of look back at that sort of earlier time then and go, I'm very happy to have been a part of that?
Oh, man, massively. Do you know what's weird, right? I remember sitting there and I was making like the early cusp of Liquid, you know, when Fabio just kind of brought Calibre through and people like that. And I was making that kind of sound and it wasn't really catching on, not like it has now, obviously. It was very niche compared to, you know, the other stuff. Like, you know, I come through with Andy C, Shimon and all those guys. So being in that camp and making the kind of music I made, you know, they were starting labels for me to try and cater for it. But, you know, in my heart, I just wanted to be on round with them, but I never made that sound, you know. And I think that with the dubstep, I made the right sound at the right moment, and it was like that's what was blowing up at the time, and it kind of like I got swept away with a wave, I guess.
Amazing, man. I mean, it's quite an interesting thing to look back on because obviously I think dubstep fans look back at that kind of early period where you see people like N-Type and Youngster on Rinse every week. We kind of look back at that time period kind of going like, wow, that was a special kind of time. Like everything that was being released just had this freshness to it. Everything was coming out on wax. Like there was such a almost like an intimacy about the music, I'd say.
Absolutely. It was like, you know, it was like we was all part of this club and we was all doing it together. And I think that's how dubstep started, you see. It was like Forward was kind of like the centre point where everything built out of. And because Forward was like going to your local pub, all these guys, they'd all grown up with each other and gone to school with each other, do you know what I mean? And like they was all like really, really close friends. So to go down to Forward and be in that kind of atmosphere, everybody's there making their tunes, wanting to hear them on that sound system in Plastic People, you know, patting each other on the back like, yeah, this is great. The encouragement and enthusiasm was just on another level. So to see that and be a part of that inspired me so much. It's like, yeah, I want to be part of this club. And I feel like that literally grew out of that club into the internet. And I think that everybody kind of become like this community of people that was like really into this, everyone passionate and really loving what they're doing and what they're listening to, you know. There was girls that was really into it, and it was like, I think that was a massive thing as well. It was like a very balanced audience of people, so that kept the music a certain way instead of it becoming like too just guy oriented.
Yeah, too
some music do, you know.
Too ruckus insinuated.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. It still had a bit of soul and a bit of groove to it all, you know.
Yeah.
I think girls was digging that.
Definitely,
that was a massive contribution to it all as well.
I see. I remember looking at kind of like videos from those earlier sort of raves and those earlier sort of dances, and I do remember thinking it being such a like mixed audience. You know, it seemed to be there was such a kind of there was no kind of look to dubstep, if you know what I mean. It was just like it was good music for good people.
You've hit the nail on the head. I mean, coming from like a drum and bass background, there seemed to be a kind of like, I don't know, a kind of way people would dress, and it was like the fashion for that kind of music. Do you know what I mean? But coming to dubstep was like kind of like a bit of an open platform. Like you saw goth people in Forward, you saw people that was like dressed like smart, like they'd been at work, like Shoreditch, kind of like trendy, kind of like avant-garde kind of look and that, experimental. It was like a real melting pot of cultures that kind of come to dubstep. That's what I loved about it so much.
Definitely.
And that come with the sound and the artists as well.
You know,
definitely, man. I mean, it's awesome to look back on, and obviously we look at dubstep as a scene now. It's almost kind of outgrown itself, and the new roots have been planted, and that's growing into what the original sort of sound was again. And obviously we've seen all the sort of more Americanized spin-offs and what's kind of happened with EDM. It's quite an interesting kind of timeline to look back on.
Absolutely. You know, I think in all music scenes, they evolve and cycle and, you know, reinvent themselves. You can see the resurgence of jungle now. There's a lot of musics that have kind of come back around, you know, and sounds within musics that have come back around. And I think with dubstep's been on like this circular timeline. And I've watched all, basically from when I first got into it around 2006-ish, I'd say, listening to what kind of was made then, I feel like we've just kind of gone through a little period of that era again. Obviously with like new modern age production because of, you know, with the Doors and all the different plugins and synths and stuff, the capabilities of those that we've got now is like far beyond what we had back then. But people have used those pieces of equipment and those plugins to their effect, but, you know, making something that's kind of like leans towards that kind of era. But I can see now we're kind of pushing on past that, and I feel like we're coming back around to like 2008, 2010.
Yeah, very
which
much.
I highly welcome, man.
Yeah, like I think the interesting thing about the sound, and this LP as well, which is why I'm so excited to get into the first tune, which we're going to play in just a second. Would you say this is like your representation of that sound coming back around?
Absolutely. That's why I called it Revolution, because I sat there and I listened to it on a whole and I thought to myself, you know, to be fair, before I say this album has changed form many times. It took me like a couple of years to put this out, and it's kind of like taking on a different kind of like a different guise each time, each kind of revision, if you like. But yeah, this definitely, and more so the revisions, because of the way I've seen things evolving and where I think I see them going. It is definitely like a circular part of what I was saying before. From my first album, Evolution, I felt like at that time the music was evolving into something new, and it did. And I was right, I hit the nail on the head with that. And I feel like now we're coming back round to kind of like that time again. So I felt like it was like a revolution, not like the revolution will not be televised, but like, you know, a revolving era of time that has now come back. And I feel like we've come to a point where we're open again.
Yeah.
You know, it's not just one kind of sound that's getting pushed right now. People are really kind of coming into their own and evolving into their own artists rather than kind of being influenced by others and kind of just making like a continuation or a rehash of that. So for me personally, looking on the scene and thinking to myself, this is a good time for me to do this project now and release it, because I feel like it would be a great time for people to kind of listen to this music and accept it for what it is. Definitely. And hopefully be inspired. And I think I hit the nail on the head. It's #1 today. So really
there we go. Well, congratulations on that, on hitting the #1. There we go. You're going to get a clap up for that. There we go. Claps. We're going to throw a couple of glass matches in there. Bombs, all sorts going off. There we go. We're going to jump into the first tune on today's listing then. This is The All-Seeing Eye. We're going to get into this one and then crack on with the rest of the conversation, looking more in depth at the sort of track listing, how the album came together. Don't go anywhere, guys. We're live on Cubcan TV and, of course, Trickstar Radio as well. Hit that subscribe button, throw a like on the video, and keep it locked. friends, we're back inside the building. It is Brekky in the Cave, out to my locked-in crew. Soul Jitsu joining us this morning. How are you doing, my friend? We're live on the line with the legendary Eddy 7, one of my favourite dubstep producers currently out there right about now, which is making this conversation very enjoyable for me, and I'm hoping it's enjoyable for you guys out there as well. We've got the new project, the Revolution. I'm keen to kind of dive into more than anything else, the kind of track listing and how it came together. Like, as you said, there's been a fair few revisions of it. Like, how long has this track listing on there now been the final selection?
Literally about 6 weeks before release date.
Wow.
Do you know what it was? The original track list was kind of like a journey from east to west, and it sounded super fresh. And then I noticed a lot of like these eastern sounding tunes started popping up, and I thought to myself, I don't want this to just sound like, you know, just get lost within what everybody else is doing. And it kind of made me paranoid a little bit. So I went in and revised the first time to make it sound a little bit more not just so eastern based. And then that's how it was for a while. And then was about to release it, and then I noticed it had been leaked online.
Oh, wow.
I managed to get that taken down fairly quickly, but at one point it kind of made me not like the album anymore. If that sounds weird, I know it does, but so I decided, you know what, I'm going to go in, I'm going to rework every single tune, I'm going to take stuff off there that I'm bored with now, that I've been listening to for ages and ages, and I did that. There was a singer that I work with, Polly Yates, who I rate massively.
Yeah.
She is incredible. And her writing skills and her singing skills are just mind-blowing. And I'd originally planned to have a track with her on the album. She started, she was the intro, or she sung on the intro track, I should say, on my previous album, 1111. And it just felt weird not having her on this one. And so, you know, Polly's had a lot going on. She's been very busy with work and stuff. But we managed to get the planets to align, and she got the time to be able to record for me. And that was it. As soon as that track was finished, it just completely changed my whole kind of like where I wanted to take the album. I went and made new tracks that literally just went straight on there without any promo. That's like Look to the Future, and the Petite Mort track went on there, and yeah, it just that completely changed the flow. I changed the whole track listing, the way everything kind of like played out together, and I felt like then it was really actually complete.
Yeah,
and,
I mean, when you look through the track listing, the interesting thing about this is there's a couple of features on here. I mean, how do you find that process? Coming from a more, I want to say, dubstep background, obviously working with vocalists and singers, like do you feel it's something that's almost kind of slept on as an approach?
I think it is. I think that, you know, if you do it right and with the right kind of people behind it, then you've got a magnetic man. And the proof's in the pudding. They've done it and shown everybody how you can do it.
Definitely,
you
man.
know, like if you look at what Benga did with Katie B, it become massively commercial. But shit, I was playing that in my sets. I loved it.
Yeah.
And the tune, the original track, you know, Man on a Mission, it was an incredible tune. But once you put those vocals on it, it turned it into a song.
Yeah,
you know,
it almost allows people who aren't necessarily following, who aren't necessarily fans of dubstep yet, or haven't really been interested in instrumental music. It gives them almost like a point of reference. It gives them something. Yeah. It gives them something to grapple onto and almost kind of associate with. You know, it makes them go, oh, I can associate that with that because it's got a vocal.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's that accessibility.
That's exactly the word I was looking for.
Yeah, it brings that accessibility to the music. Now, if I look back on some of the biggest tunes, even on Uprise, like Reflection, massive vocal tune. If you take the vocals off that tune, would never have even come close to where it got to. Look at LaRue, Screams In for the Kill remix. Man, there's been so many actually really kind of significant vocal dubstep tunes.
Yeah.
And like even down to like some of the remixes, like you know, the K's Cray remix, what Mallow and Koki did for Fat Freddy. all these, when you hear these vocals like Koki's Mavado thing, what's the other one? Oh man, there's been a few in there, you know.
Yeah.
What I do,
like big tunes that have been almost amplified by the fact they have that vocal in there.
Absolutely. So I think it's very important, and I think if more people actually paid attention to that and put it in, I could see like a massive resurgence in terms of there already is on the underground, but just, you know, in terms of like people, radio play, and, you know, like we were saying, that accessibility to people that might not have been into dubstep.
Yeah, I agree entirely, man. I mean, on this album as well, we're going to jump into one more tune before we kind of move on to what's on the way in the future. Obviously, it's just hit number 1, so again, massive congratulations on that. I'm glad we got you in on the morning of it being a bit of it hitting the
timing,
yeah,
right?
That's fantastic timing. I mean, like with this, like now then. Before we jump into the tune, by the way, the next tune's going to be Deli Trotter, which I just love the name of completely. I love the name of that tune. Like with a tune like with this album, then, like where do you think this is going to lead you to? Like, what do you think the next thing to come from this album will be?
Well, you know, it's been a while since I put any serious projects out. You know, I've done a couple of releases on the Bandcamp days and that, just to get some bits out there, really, and. I've just, you know, I started a new job. I've not had a 9-to-5 job for years. I was just doing music continuously full time. But I kind of started a new job, and it's kind of, I don't know, it's completely rearranged all the way I do things now. So I haven't had as much time to make as much music, but I've still got a lot of music there to release. I've got stuff coming out, Fat Kid on Fire. It's a collab that I did with Chad DUBSTEP'S.
Yeah, wow.
And I've got stuff coming out on Uprise as well. I'll talk more about that when the time comes.
Yeah.
But I will start album 5 soon.
Oh, wow. I mean, this is kind of what I wanted to get into more than anything else, because obviously this album's made the impact. It's a very cool kind of way of you landing something and it having that immediate impact clearly, and you kind of, to an extent, not necessarily re-announcing yourself, but kind of reconfirming yourself to an extent.
Yeah, I think, you know, in this day and age, what with the way the music industry, with any industry nowadays, things move so quick. You know, the internet has made everything accessible, and people can get into stuff and out of stuff before they've even actually seen stuff, if that makes sense.
Yeah, like you can be over it before it's even out.
Absolutely. So you need to kind of be on the button nowadays. You know, when I first started, you could put an album out, and the album would last a couple of years. It's like the only time you would really hear it, apart from if you owned it, was when you'd go out and party to it.
Yeah.
You know, the internet enabled us to have all of those luxuries all inside our home, continuously on tap whenever we want them. And that's great.
Yeah.
That's amazing, you know. Like we were saying before, it makes everything more accessible to everybody. But at the same time, it's made things harder for the artists, because you need to keep on coming with like content all the time, and constant input and consistency. So for me, now I'm just going to try and keep my foot on the accelerator and maintain that momentum. Make sure I've got stuff coming out, things people are interested in listening to and looking at, and I'm going to get cracking with Uprise and really kind of bring that back to the fold and let that slip a little bit. Like I said, at the start of last year, I sat down and I said to myself, you know what, this year I'm going to do me. I put 7 years of everything into everybody else, and I just felt like I needed to put a little bit more time back into myself, and that's pretty much still the ethos. I need to continue putting the time and effort and A&Ring myself, you know, like I've been my other artists, and making sure that people that follow me have enough stuff to follow, you know, rather than it just me drop out and just keep putting an album out every couple of years.
Yeah, of course.
That's definitely not the way to go. But seeing the reaction that I've had to this one, I feel a little bit rejuvenated.
Yeah, man. I definitely think that's what we're going to see, and I think we are going to see more from yourself in the near future. Obviously, we're going to see more
absolutely.
from Uprise off the kind of. I mean, success drives you, you know, and that kind of impact of music does drive you. So, what we're going to do is, because we're literally about to run out of time, and I want to make sure we do fit another tune in before we do finish up. We're going to get into this one next from yourself. This one is Deli Trotter. This is my personal favourite track off the album. So, talk to me about this one before we finish up.
Well, that was actually originally the intro track. The concept of the album 2 years ago was to take you pretty much across the world, like I've done with my DJing. Start in the east and travel over to the west, and I pretty much nailed it, I think. But like I said, I felt like by the time it come to actually getting it out there, it all sounded a little bit kind of like, you know, too current, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
For something to come out in the future. But yeah, Deli Trotter was like, I wanted to make something that was just kind of like a little bit against the rules and something that would drop heavy. And you know what? It's actually originally made it to intro my set on my boat party at Outlook.
Okay.
And I wanted something that was going to kind of capture people's attention and be a little
I thought you were going to say capsize the boat then for a second.
We nearly did that day. That was a wild party, man.
You know the reason I'm loving this so much today, and I'm happy we're getting to play it today. I've literally got Del Boy and Rodney on my mug this morning. So there we go. Love it. So yeah, there we go. We're going to finish up with this one, dude. I tell you what, it's been an absolute pleasure here. You know what? I haven't said much today. I've been really, really excited to just kind of sit and let you talk and explain like situations and talk me through some of those earlier days. You know, for me personally, like during those earlier days, I was a fan through and through. I was one of the people looking into every show. I was one of the people seeing the projects drop and being like, oh my god, I need to get my hands on this. Oh my god. And so to kind of hear what was happening during those times from like the other side of the kind of veil. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on this morning. So we're going to do a bit of a clap up. Man like Eddy 7 in the building. So we do professional radio these days. There we go. We're gonna get into this one next. This is Deli Trotter. One time, what is the best social media tag for people to get you on, my friend?
Right, my best social media tag to get me on is probably my Facebook page.
Okay.
That's facebook.com/7dubstep.
There we go. Lovely stuff. Right then, we're going to finish up here. Guys, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you all with me this morning. As I said before, please do make sure you're hitting that subscribe button and, of course, hitting the like button as well. Tomorrow, we're going to have a very exciting show indeed. We've got a man like Soul Jitsu joining us, discussing battle rap and what's going on with that in the UK currently. As well as that, we're going to be joined by Seventh, who's going to be talking us through the sort of golden era of SoundCloud and R&B sampling, future bass and all that good stuff there, whilst playing some new bangers as well. So we're going to run through our closers here. Of course, hit that subscribe button as you can see below. Social media channels you can catch me on. I'm on Instagram as well as Facebook, Twitter and SoundCloud. All of those at KXVU, as you'll see in the top right hand corner of the screen. As well as that, you can catch the podcast for this show by going onto Spotify, Apple Music or SoundCloud, simply searching Breakfast with KXVU, the interviews. There's loads of content on there. I think we're approaching nearly 200 different episodes up on there in different forms, so do go and check that out. As well as that, a quick final word from our sponsors, out to Sharpen Digital, of course. They help this channel a lot with SEO and growth and all of them things there. The alternative to hiring social media managers. Do go and check them out if you've got a project you want to enhance the social media reach of. And there we go. One more time, hit that subscribe button. We're going to finish up here, guys. We'll see you in the morning. Don't go anywhere. It's been very, very fun. And peace. See you later.
and it's Brucey. And right now you're locked into Kovu, Dub Plate King.
It's Popsy, English, not on my guy, come Kovu.
Hey, Sabrina here, and you're tuned into Breakfast with the man himself, Kovu.
Them never did know. Yeah, it's all about Breakfast with Kovu. This is tough like Ion representing scene. What?